He's 18, so that's my excuse. What's yours?
Old age. I'm definitely getting old.
Oh, you got little kids
Hello,
and grandkids.
everyone, and welcome to the Keys to Success. I am so excited today. Unfortunately, I don't have my co-host Talisa, so I'm going to be holding it down without her. But I have a wonderful, wonderful guest that's going to be joining us today. His name is Daniel Kline, and I am super thrilled because he is literally the OG, my original mentor, still my mentor, still like my go-to for every freaking thing when it comes to real estate. So Daniel Kline, we are so excited to have you. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Deva. Love your smile. It's always good to talk with you. I love our talks that we always have, and so it's a pleasure to be on the show with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is such an honor for me because I literally remember me being like on those different DFW or Fort Worth Facebook groups years ago. And I would always like see you responding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he really knows his stuff. And then one day I built up the courage to literally slide in your DM and say, hey, do you mentor or can I help do something? Do you remember that?
Yes, you were a teacher back then.
I was a
You
teacher
were a
and
teacher.
principal, and I was like done with it.
I think you were an assistant principal or something. Anyway, you were in the educational field, and then you went to the consulting field, and then you called me one day and you said, Daniel, I'm going full time in real estate, and I was just like, man, that is awesome. I'm so excited about that.
Yes. And a lot of that was because of you, because you made it real. Like I was able, like when I tell you, I am so blessed to be connected with Daniel because if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you have heard of him, Liberty Home Buyers, you have heard of everything that he does. And I can't wait to tap into that. I don't know why my screen is frozen, but it is. That's okay.
At least you look good frozen.
Yeah. And literally, he and his group of partners, they do a phenomenal job with the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So, Daniel, I mean, enough of me talking. Share with us what you do and everything you do for the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Sure. Well, my specialty is creative finance real estate. I guess my motto is I like to get paid, like to work once and get paid forever. So I do a lot of subject to owner finance. I've been doing a little bit of BRRRR. I'll get into that probably a little bit later. I'm not doing BRRRR currently, but we help sellers that are motivated, that don't have equity or, don't have an opportunity to sell, retail. And we help them with their debt. So debt reduction program. And then we also buy houses cash. We do some wholesaling. I've done short sales. I mean, kind of any strategy that you can think of. I either done it or do it, but I really, really enjoy subject to and owner finance. That's what I'm an expert at. It's what I've done most of my career, and so that's my expertise.
And talk to us. How long have you been doing this?
Long time. I'm an old soul in a younger body. I have been investing. I bought my first house in 2002 at the age of 25.
Wow.
I'm dating myself. I'm 47.
Wow. And then, so a lot of viewers are always asking, like, how does someone get into this? So talk to us about what caused you 25 to get into real estate. What was that?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great question. So I speak fluent Spanish. My beautiful wife, Maria, is from Mexico. My relationship with her is in Spanish. So I initially thought, I'm going to do a fix and flip type strategy. And at the time I was working in retail sales. So I was selling floors, carpet and hardwoods, laminate, that sort of thing. And I had gone to a National Guru meeting and spent $2,500. That was my tax return that year. And Maria told me, she said, you had best do something with that money. And so, I mean, no pressure, right? And so I went to this National Guru, and it was nothing but an upsell to boot camp and all that other stuff. But there was one thing that I really took out of that meeting, and it was find yourself a mentor, leverage your time with their expertise. You'll reach your goals 3 times faster. And so I just started telling everybody that I could possibly find that I wanted to be a real estate investor. Well, one of the people that I happened to tell was one of my customers that I was selling a ceramic tile floor to. And she says, well, I know a guy. He's one of my customers. And he said that if I'll take him to lunch, then he would teach me everything he knows about real estate. I was like going, cha-ching, I need to get that guy's number. Back in the day, I didn't have a lot of confidence, a lot of self-confidence. So, you talked about building up the courage to contact me. Well, it took me a week of having this guy's phone number to finally, give him a call. Coincidentally, after about two lunches, I bought 7 houses. And then I had to go tell my boss that I had an eye problem. And he goes, "What in the bleepy bleep is an eye problem?" And I said, "I can't see myself working for you anymore." And, yeah, so we went on to build Happy House Buyers, Happy House Sellers. It was the largest creative finance company here in Dallas, in Fort Worth. And I sold that business in 2014. I retired for about 10 years. You actually reached out to me in my retirement. I was probably laying in my bed just pecking away on Facebook, because that's my expertise. But I really wasn't active in buying. The last 10 years, I've actually been buying just on referral basis. I don't spend any money on marketing. I buy plenty of houses. But if somebody getting started, I would say the first thing you want to do is find a mentor, leverage your time with their expertise. Second thing is take action. And, I'm mentoring my son now. He graduated high school 2 weeks ago. His goal is to be a millionaire by the time he's 23. And I told him, I said, the only way that you won't be a millionaire by the time you're 23 is if you quit.
Wow.
And so that's the third thing I'd tell you is put your nose to the grindstone, run hard, don't give up, don't quit. You're going to have some ups and downs, but stay the course.
And that is huge.
Yeah, real estate is not a get rich quick business, as you know, Deba. I mean, you've had an extraordinary track record, but my experience is that the real estate is not a get rich quick business; it's a get rich slow business. But if you really apply yourself and you stay consistent, I can't even tell you the things that real estate's done for me. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. Vacations 12, 13, 14 times a year. Be honest with you, I'm tired of traveling. I want to get back into the business and build something significant with my son, and so that's where I am today. Is really wanting to have a huge impact on my son, and set him up for his future family, and so that's what I'm really focused on today.
Wow, wow. And you've said so much in like you were working, all of a sudden you were like, you met someone, you started telling them about real estate. You
Yep.
went and spent some money that you have with your tax return to invest in yourself, which is the best thing you could ever do. Knowledge is power.
That's
And
right.
yes, it was a lot of money. It hurt. You could have went out and did vacation, but you said, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself now so
That's
that I
right.
can really live the life of my dreams. And literally, when I say Daniel's always gone, he's always gone. And I'm so jealous. Like, I'm like, I want to go with you wherever you're going. And like, he does a lot of missionary work and
Yeah.
living that life of abundance. You're then
Mhm.
able to go out and do and serve and love and be kind of the hands and feet of God, and which is such a blessing,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love the fact that you shared that, things that you want to do, things of like what you're teaching your son so you can help change the trajectory for him.
Yep.
And with real estate, I love that you mentioned it is not a get rich quick scheme. I need to yell that out to everyone because a lot of people think, oh, if I just give you some money, you're going to turn 10,000 into a million. It doesn't work
Doesn't
that way
work that way. Nope.
at all. No, no. And so you decided your strategy was owner finance subject to.
Mhm.
Tell the viewers what that is, because that's a little bit advanced real estate investing.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the most sophisticated form of single family home investing. If I can, I'll tell you how I chose that. So when I went to lunch with that mentor, he asked me a key question. He said, "Dan, you do want a big check or do you want cash flow?" And my answer to him was, "I don't want a big check. I have a job. I want cash flow because I want freedom." And so he was doing subject twos, and actually we were doing lease options back then. The laws have changed a bit, so we don't do lease options anymore. But subject to is where we buy a house subject to an existing lien. So in other words, the seller becomes the bank. They leave their financing in place. We take over their payments and we service their debt. So we don't assume it through the bank. It's a soft assumption, if you will, but we are servicing the seller's debt. Owner finance is where a house is free and clear. And again, we make the seller the bank, and we either give them a down payment or on occasions, I've I've gotten into owner finance deals with no down and 0% interest. But the seller is financing the purchase, either all of the purchase price or a portion of the purchase price. Instead of us going to a bank to get a loan, we make the seller our lender.
And talk to us about how do you cash flow? Because you're like the middleman.
Yeah, so that's the best part. You get to all the juice. So, it's coincidental. I'm putting together a course. I haven't decided if I'm going to market it to the general public, but I've got some good slides in there that really talk about how I create cash flow. The first way that we can create, well, there's 3 profit centers. So the first thing that you need to realize in any real estate transaction, there's 3 profit centers. It's cash now, cash flow, and cash later. Okay, so cash flow is created in the debt that we're servicing. Say the underlying lien is $2,000, and then our exit strategy typically is owner finance. And the way that we structure that is through a wrap mortgage. That's probably maybe technical, I don't know, but anyway, we sell on a wrap mortgage. It's basically owner financing to the end user, the end consumer, and we charge a 10% interest rate. So on that $2,000 payment that we're servicing for the seller, let's say it's 200,000 at 5%. We're selling at 10% interest rate, say at a payment of 3,000. So every single month, like clockwork, I get a check for $1,000, $1,000. I mean, imagine if you did that 10 times, Deba. I mean, what would $10,000 passive income mean to your family, to anyone's family? Well, I'm sure you have that coming in, but the person that's just getting started, what would that mean to them, where they could actually not have to work, but work because they want to? It really puts you in a place of creation. I would tell your listeners, how often do you think about your monthly bills, about money? I would say it's probably 75% of all of your waking hours you're thinking about money. And for me, I don't think about money other than how do I make more if I want, but I focus on creation. So I'm in a place where all of my monthly bills are paid. I don't have to really work again if I don't want to be honest with you. And so then it comes to a point of like, what do I create? I mean, do you remember when you were a kid, you had the posters on the wall of just dreams that you had? And
Yes.
and then as you get older and you get your bills and you get your responsibilities, you forget about your dreams. They go away because you're so consumed with making a living and your job and all the stresses that come along with responsibility. Well, just imagine if you didn't have that, and then you could dream again, and you could be in a place of creation. What would you do? What would you do with your life, with your time? What would you create? How could you help people? And so that's really what real estate's done for me. A house is a house. They all have kitchens and bathrooms, and some of them have backyards, and some of them don't. But I just really, so I'm not really in love with houses and real estate. I'm in love with what it does for me and my family.
Yeah. And that is so huge because you really talked about a lot of things of when you do the wrap and you do the subject to, you're kind of like this, I don't even know how you call it. You're not really a landlord. You're more or less like, I own this. If there's a maintenance issue, the new owner that I wrapped it with, they're the owner. They deal with the maintenance. I'm going to get this check no matter what. And if they don't pay, then I'm just going to go and foreclose on them. And I got my equity. I got my cash now. I got my cash flow. I'm just going to do it again, over and over again. And it's really one of the best strategies, but you have to have a mentor. You cannot try to go do this based on what you're seeing on YouTube, because it will get you in a lawsuit and a lot of bad situations.
Yeah. I mean, you said it very well. I mean, I'm sandwiched between 2 parties. So I'm sandwiched between the seller whose debt I'm servicing and their bank. And then I'm on the other side, it's the owner finance buyer and their family. And so, you really have to know what you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, someone's going to get hurt. And so I would highly recommend, getting a mentor, having someone that really, really knows their business. And don't try to, YouTube it or, do it on your own. It's, there's just too much at stake, really.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the first deal that we did, and Daniel's my mentor if you guys are just joining us. And I remember he and I working together, and it was more or less like, hey, he was like, Deb, I'm gonna get these lists. I was like, well, I'll pay for the list. Whatever you need, let me just pay because I just want to learn and just
Yep.
kind of just walk with you wherever you're going. Can I just join you? And he talks a lot about the freedom. And I remember being assistant principal, and I would call him like during my lunch break or in between meetings, and I would say, hey, I think I got this call, what happens? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out with my wife. And I would be like, oh my gosh, like this is, but because he was a mentor and I was able to see him and I like got that connection with him, he made this real. And he made living the life of your dreams, and how he's talking about living life creatively and colorfully, and where you can go in and be what you really want and not be tapped down with thinking about bills. And he made that real. And that's what a mentor does, is help you realize like, hey, there's life on the other side of chasing your W-2. There's life on the other side of, hey, if you really want to do this, there's ways to do that. And they will speed up the process like
100%.
he's doing for his son. And so talk to us a little bit about, okay, came out of retirement, and I nudged him so much like, hey, I really need help. And I kind of stalked you, to be honest. Let's just, let's put it out there. But he was so giving and so willing to be like, okay, Deborah, this is how you do it. And I thought I had a deal. You and Nalani met me in Seagoville at a mobile home. And that was the first time we like met, and you were like, hey, I'm willing to do it. And I appreciate that so much. But just thinking out loud of, what made you say, I need to change? Like, what made you just say, I need to jump into real estate? And what can you tell someone that wants to do this as well?
Yeah. Well, before I get going, I just want to acknowledge you. You know, I've mentored hundreds of people through the years, and you're in the absolute top five of everyone that I've ever mentored. I mean, you were very meticulous. You absorbed the information. You know, you brought something to write with. You know, that's one of my pet peeves is, you know, you're mentoring somebody, they don't bring anything to write with. Like, you're only going to retain 10%, but you were so meticulous and taking notes, really paying attention. And so it really sped up the process because I was able to tell you once, you got it, and then, you know, we're on to the next step. Uh, to your question, so anyway, great job and congratulations on your success, Deb. I'm just absolutely thrilled with
You're
what
so
you
sweet.
and I also want to acknowledge Samson, because behind every man or woman is a good partner. And I know that Samson has just supported you 100%, even leaving your job.
Yeah,
And I think he was in a new job at that time.
he was. And he was like, I'll pay the bills. You go figure this
Yeah,
out.
but that's a precarious situation. You're in a new job. You know, your wife wants to take off and you know, quit her job and pursue her dreams. You know, and to support that, I just want to acknowledge Samson for just his faith in you, and for, you know, supporting you and being there and allowing you to, you know, pursue your dreams. And hey, look how it turned out.
We're not
So
okay.
that's fantastic. It failed. But to answer your question, the reason that I got out of retirement is because of my children. So I've got Nalani, who works at Hudson Title. Coincidentally, if you need any title business or work, you have any closings, go to Nalani Kline at Hudson Title in Plano. She wanted to get into the business. And so I just, man, I go hard for my family. I really, you know, my wife is Mexican, and one of the things I love about the Mexican culture is they are so family oriented, and so I've really adopted a lot of the Mexican culture into our lifestyle, and one of those is family. So I go really hard for my family. Alani wanted to learn the business. She didn't want to go to college. She wanted to be mentored, and how am I going to say no to that? And so that's why she was at that appointment with you. I said, hey, I've got a lady that I'm mentoring. She's really sharp. She's got a deal in Seagoville. I didn't realize it was a mobile home until we got there. Then I was like, oh, what are we doing here? It was comical, but it was a good learning experience. I mean, you know, the thing is just take action. I mean, it wasn't a deal, but how much did you learn off of that one appointment? I mean,
Yes.
you learned a tremendous amount because you were doing the deal. And so, you know, I will respect and honor, you know, someone that I've committed to working with, you know, and I'll show up to that. even
Yeah.
though it wasn't a deal. That's okay. It's a learning experience. Matter of fact, Daniel and I went to an appointment the other day, and I said, "Hey, even if this is not a deal, this is a good appointment because this is a free training session. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a little time, a little bit of gas, but dude, this is awesome." And so coincidentally, Nalani she came to work with you actually, doing being a realtor. She got her license. I've never been licensed. I've never been in that world, but she got her license. She came to work with you. She went to Hudson Title, and she's 25. And then I have another daughter, Salma, who is 23, and same thing. She's like, I can't imagine doing a 9 to 5. I don't want to be told what to do. I'm a free spirit. I want to create, and um, they've had that pounded in their head forever. You're a product of your environment, right? You're programmed, and so I've
For sure.
programmed them. And so anyway, Salma wanted to get in the business. She's now currently selling owner finance homes. So if you have a owner finance property you need sold, contact Salma Kline. I mean, she is good. She's really good. And so now Daniel graduated 2 weeks ago, and again doesn't want to do the big business college thing. I think college is a big business personally. He doesn't want to do the college thing. He wants to be mentored, and he's just going to crush it. I mean, I'm really shocked because he's an introvert. He's a quiet young man, and he went from kind of playing video games and talking with his buddies in his bedroom to I can't get him to go to his bedroom now.
Wow.
All he wants to do is talk real estate. I mean, literally, we're working at 9 in the morning, and he's up till like 10 in the evening in the living room, and all we are is just talking strategy and deals and numbers, and I'm writing it out for him, and he just absorbing everything. So that's really what got me out of retirement. Retirement's for the birds, to be honest with you. Everyone that has a W-2, they say, "Hey, I want to be retired," but then when you're retired and you're doing nothing, free time is the devil's workshop. And
Yes.
so I just I really got to a point not too long ago. I thought, what is my purpose? Like why does God have me on this earth? Like what is? And so I started praying about it. Hey, Lord, what do you want? What do you want me to do? What would you have me do? And the answer is mentor your kid, pass on the
Mhm.
legacy, and help as many people as you can. I feel like that's why we're here to further the kingdom of God, share the gospel, help as many people as we can. And what better place to begin to help people but in my own family.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just love that. So literally, guys, y'all can see I'm an extension of Daniel because that's literally the same thing I say all day long. Like I just
Yeah.
want to help as many people. I want to love on people and show them like there is life in abundance. And I think sometimes you can get things misunderstood when we talk about money because that's something that's not talked about a lot. When you're in the W-2 world, you're not supposed to talk about your salary, but we all need money. That's what we get up every day to do so we can make money. But if you live in a life of abundance, now you have more money to help other people that are less fortunate than you. And so, biggest thing I know people definitely want to hear about, okay, we know about owner financing. How do you find these owner finance deals? Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been retired for 10 years. I explained earlier that I've literally been buying houses off a referral for like the past 10 years, just because, well, maybe people on Facebook don't know me because I guess maybe I'm a little bit more private person. I need to take after you, Deba, and really hone my social media skills. But really referrals. So I think the first thing that if someone's getting into the business, the first thing they should do is they should just tell every single person out there, what they're doing. Do it on Facebook. For me personally, we're cranking up the marketing. We're going to do some open record requests. We're looking for probate, people behind in mortgage payments. I think I found a list where I can get behind in mortgage payment data straight from the credit bureaus. We're looking for water shutoffs. We're looking for tired landlords, evictions, and all of that is I think you can get all of that through open records. You can also get it through a data broker. And then how do you reach out to people? Well, when I got started, we were doing bandit signs, door hangers, letters, like direct mail letters. I mean, guerrilla marketing is what they called it. So I'm having to relearn that because everything's digital. Everything is online. So pay per click is another really good one. We're setting up ClickFunnels to get a landing page or squeeze page, landing page, whatever you want to call it. With ClickFunnels. So I was always taught to have 3 different marketing strategies going on at one time. And so if one of them drops off, you got the other 2 are still kicking. And so I'm planning on setting up 4, 5, 6 of them. I'm still doing deals. I mean, I'm still getting calls. I get calls like all the time. My son just looks at me and goes, I mean, you get calls like all day long. Where are they coming from? And I said, that's what happens when you're in the business. I mean, when people know that you buy houses and you let everybody know what it is that you do, and they know that you're going to operate with integrity, with, high moral values, you're going to honor your word, and you operate that way. Well, people want to do business with people they like, people they trust. And so I just get, not to toot my own horn, but I get calls all the time from people that just have deals and don't know what to do with it. The numbers don't work, whatever the case may be. But so referrals, the marketing, and those specific criteria of people that, if you don't like my criteria, put yourself in a motivated seller situation. What creates motivation? Well, what creates motivation is a life happening. What's a life happening? Divorce, job loss, death, relocation, all those types of things. Put yourself, kind of have empathy, right? Put yourself in the shoes of someone that, maybe needs to sell their house fast. Well, why would that be? And then once you've identified what that situation would be, well, where can you go get that data? Right. And once you identify where you can get the data, okay, how can I contact them? It seems to be that people are contacting through cold calling and texting and, email drip campaigns, all of it electronically. Some people are door knocking. I don't do that, but I know that it's effective. I just choose not to do that. But those are all excellent strategies to use. Does that answer your question? Did I give?
Yeah, that's that is a lot. That is a lot of different techniques. As you can see, there's a different way to do it, and each person is different depending on what their personality trait is and what they're looking for. Now, tell us about this motivated seller. Would it be a house that they have a lot of equity would work for owner financing, or would it be something that doesn't have a lot of equity?
So, well, that's you're talking about 2 different types of strategies and 2 different type of equity values, if you will. So, subject 2 would be someone that has little to no equity. Actually, what I'm finding right now, Deb, is that everybody's got equity. Right? The market just sprang up here in the last 2-3 years. And so I'm doing some subject 2s where I give them some cash up front, or I don't give them cash, but I give them a note. Basically, I'm negotiating a portion of their equity. I'm servicing their debt, and then I'm paying them a portion of their equity, and in the form, like I said, of some cash up front or cash over time. The owner finance, if you're purchasing on owner finance, that's a free and clear house. Anything other than a free and clear house is a subject 2 because you have debt to service there. So if it's an owner finance type scenario, you're looking for those free and clears. And that's a good point. I didn't cover that actually when I was talking about strategies for finding houses. Somebody that has a free and clear house, over 65, those types of setups, those types of scenarios, where someone, when I go to a house and I talk with a seller, I always ask them, hey, if you get this check, what are you going to do with it? And they're like, I'm going to go put it in the bank, or all right. I'm like, well, hey, what if I turn this property into, an investment for you? Instead of you just putting that in the bank and getting, 2 or 3%, why don't I pay you 5%? And it's secured by real estate. You're familiar with the investment, obviously. I mean, it's your house. And, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I know how to handle it. You'll get a payment regardless of whether I get a payment from my tenant or my owner finance buyer. And I've turned a lot of people into, from like a wholesale type deal or a fix and flip type deal where I'm offering them cash to them taking payments, just because the idea of them turning something that they're so familiar with into an investment property, whereas they're not really getting money if they get cash in the bank and they get a better return. I'm able to flip those people quite a few times. I've been able to do that.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to add is that because this seller financing, owner financing subject 2, any deal that you come across, you can be creative to make it work. And I think that's the beauty
Yeah.
of learning the subject to the owner finance. And you don't have to be an expert at it, but you do have to be versed enough that you will let your mind think, because it is a critical thinking idea. And because I had worked with Daniel, I was actually able to do something very similar to this not too long ago when I went to a regular listing appointment as a realtor. It was a house that they had as a rental for so many years, and now they're thinking about selling it. But they did like getting the money every month because it was free and clear. But they didn't want to deal with the day-to-day maintenance and dealing with the tenants. So I just came up with the idea, well, how about I just take it over and I just pay you, but I handle everything. And, it's still secure. We go through title policy, do all that stuff. And they were like, oh, I never thought about it. And so I was able to get the house, 0 interest, 0 down. They actually brought money to the table. I didn't bring anything. And I'm paying them like $1,200 a month for a house that's worth over $400,000. And I'm cash flowing like over $1,000. That ain't nothing, because that's all because of you. Seriously. For real. Like, for
You're
real.
crushing it. You're crushing it. Congratulations on that deal. And it's they said they've never thought of it, and it's only because you thought of it. And so, I always tell people, here's the box, like this is the realtor box, if you will. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, here's the way over here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And most realtors that I've talked to that only know the realtor side, they're always like, you can't do that. They try to slap my wrist. I'm like, okay, well, this is just not our conversation.
Well, it's illegal, isn't it, Deborah? That's what you're saying. Oh, it's illegal. I said, no, you just either haven't heard of it or don't know how to do it yourself. But, hey,
Exactly.
and then I'll tell them the same thing I told you. Hey, bring me a deal, and I'll take the deal, but I'll show you exactly what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. And there has not been a deal yet that I have brought to Daniel that he was like, oh no, I can't mess with this. He will find a way to make it work. And he's so loving on people. So it's not really just, hey, he's looking for his end game of what he's going to get out of it. He's always thinking about, okay, what does the seller need? What can I help them with? And then the end buyer, placing them in a home that most times they wouldn't be able to get qualified for.
Do you know why that is?
Why?
You know why that is? Because real estate is not a real property game. Real estate is it's a people's game. It's a
Absolutely.
people's business. And we're touching people in the place that matters the most, their homes and their families. I mean, they're directly affected. So what I always tell people is don't focus on the money. Like if you're serving your fellow man, you're doing business morally, ethically, and legally, the money will follow. It's just inevitable. And so I don't focus on really the money aspect of it. It's great too, right? I mean, we all love buckets of money, but if we operate in an honorable manner and realize that this is a people business, you're going to be successful and the money just follows.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I mean, I could not say that better, because when you think about helping other people, God will continue to bless you. And that's just kind of how the world works.
100%.
Thinking about helping other people. Okay, now talk to us, because you've been doing this for such a long time and you have seen the trends up and down.
Yeah.
And I still hear people saying, I'm just going to wait for the market to crash.
No.
What are you seeing? What are the trends that you're seeing? What can you share with us that people that may be freaking out about the market?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the best time to get started in real estate was yesterday. So, and today, not tomorrow or a couple of years down the road, there's still people that are out there hurting. I've said to people, if there's foreclosure still going on down at the courthouse step, there's not enough of us, right? Somebody hasn't gotten help. Someone hasn't been reached. Otherwise, the bank wouldn't be taking that house back. What would I say to somebody that says the market's a disaster and I'd say that there's just still opportunities out there. I mean, I've been talking with some wholesalers and other investors. Some of them are just switching up their marketing to go a little bit further out of Dallas. Some of them are finding that a little bit further out is not working, so they're coming back. They're coming back in. Some of it's market testing. Go market out maybe a little bit more rural. Salma sold a house in Cleburne. She sold it in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even know where that is. I've never been to Cleburne. But, she threw it up on Facebook Marketplace, had it sold in 2 weeks. I mean, the family was just thrilled.
Wow.
I think the house needed some work even. And so that worked. Others, like I said, are closer here to town. I'd say for myself personally, I'd say that I was doing Burr. We did a cash out refi on a large rental portfolio, and so I needed to deploy some cash. So I started doing Burr, and the last Burr I did, Debbie, you're gonna laugh. Excuse me. The last Burr that I did, it was at like 7.875 on a DSCR loan. It's a debt service coverage ratio loan. Google that if you don't know what it is. And I'm cash flowing $30 on that house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after that, I thought, man, all that work and cash flowing $30, forget it. I'm not doing that. So for me, what I'm focusing on, I'm looking at a house out in Arlington. It's got an interest rate of 2.875.
Wow.
Where are you gonna find that? I've got another one looking at in Royce City, 2.75. So I'm focused on tapping into yesterday's interest rates through through the strategy that I'm an expert at and subject to, and the free and clears, just like you
Yeah.
did 0% interest. If there's no loan on the property, then there the interest rate is just whatever you negotiate. I mean,
Right.
you have to negotiate zero because you're a star. Even like 5% in this market, that's
Yeah.
great. You know.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think you just have to be willing to just say it, put it out there. And if they don't like it, they'll tell you no, but then you never know until you just ask. And what's the worst thing that could happen? They can tell you no, where you're already at a no before you even ask.
I'm just remembering the story. I've done a couple 0% myself. Take the title or the contract over. Took it to Scott Horn's office. He's a great closer in the creative finance world. And one of the young ladies in his office looked at the contract and she said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a zero." She goes, "0%?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Is this an old lady?" I said, "What are you trying to say? I'm taking advantage of old ladies?" I said, "No, no, it's what I negotiated with the seller. She was
There you
happy with
go.
what he was happy with. That particular lady had a house that she had gotten through an inheritance. She leased it to a friend who was using it as a halfway house for young men coming out of prison. She leased it to him for 3 years, and he'd only made like six rent payments. And
Wow.
so I bought it for 85,000. It was worth 125 at the time. 0% interest, zero down, no payments for 120 days. And after I got done offering her what I offered, she said, "Would you really do that?" And I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Here's
Yeah.
sign right here."
Okay. Wow. Wow. That is huge. And so I know I have a lot of people, a lot of viewers that are like, I want to learn more. How do I learn more? I know you slightly mentioned a course, but
Yeah.
how do they get in contact with you? When is that course going to come out? Because I mean, this is great information.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. And again, I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I know you're an inspiration to a lot of people. Um, You know, uh, for me, the best way for me to operate with someone is if they have a deal and they don't know what to do with it, they bring it to me. Kind of like I think I mentioned that before. Bring me the deal. I might keep the deal. I'll pay you something for it. Everyone's gonna make money. Everyone's got to
Right.
eat. So I'm a firm believer in everyone's gotta make some money and eat. But I'll open up my toolbox to you. I mean, I'll show you what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I'll show you how I talk to sellers. I'll, you know, if we do a deal, you're a prime example. We do a deal, you call me, I'm gonna take your call.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I consider you, your family. You're helping my family. I'm helping your family. We are family. I'll take that call. So, the course. I don't know. I'm still praying about that. I'm putting it together because there's value in finishing. I'm not going to
Mhm.
leave a project undone, so I'm going to finish that up. I don't know if I want to get into the education field because, like I said, my son. I go hard for my family, and my son
Yeah.
wants to learn. And so, I would be interested in if somebody was interested in that and purchasing that to sell it to them. It would probably be dependent on the individual of whether I would offer any type of one-on-one with them.
Got it.
You can go to my website, libertyhousebuyers.com. You can email me, Daniel@libertyhousebuyers.com. I mean, yeah, that's probably the best way to contact me. But I really like to work with people that like yourself. You've never done a deal, but
Yeah.
talking with you and the questions that you asked. I mean, it's not like just watched some late night guru on TV the night before and then like called me the next day. It wasn't like that. Like you'd been doing some homework. Like you knew some stuff, but you didn't have the practical knowledge. Okay, how do I put all this stuff together?
Right.
And that's why I honored you in going to that mobile home, was because you were taking action. And it's so rare to find people that take action. I don't mind talking real estate on this podcast, but I hate just sitting around talking about real estate. Let's don't talk about it. Let's go do it.
Right.
That,
Right.
that is what I really enjoy. And so if somebody's serious, they're out there doing it, they've got, a prospect or, maybe a deal, they don't know what to do with it. I would love to speak to that person. If you're
Yeah.
someone that just wants to call me and ask me a bunch of questions that maybe you can find on YouTube or otherwise, that's probably not a good fit for me.
Yeah, yeah. And one other thing I would love for you to just share is because I think sometimes with social media, with reality TV, and just, watching reels and TikTok, people make this stuff look real easy. And they make this look like, oh my gosh, you just stumble across and someone's going to be like, oh yeah, let me let you buy my house. And you don't know what you're doing and sign these paperwork. Really stress to them that this takes some work and you got to put some shit into this. Like you really got to work for this.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to real estate's not a get rich quick business, a get rich slow business. And it is work. And I would say that the majority of the people, that's why you stood out, Deborah, because the majority of the people that have come to me think that, I don't know, they're going to get into real estate and like 2 weeks later, dollar bills are going to rain down from the sky.
Right.
And then when they figure out like it's a lot of work and you got to grind. I mean, I spent probably before I retired, like I think it was 12 years. I was grinding. And, the unfortunate part is my children didn't get to see that. They were young. I mean, let's see, Nalai's 25. I've been doing it. She was like 3 years old when I bought my first house. And so they've been living my lifestyle for the last 10 years. And so they think that, they know better now, but for a while they thought like, this is just how life is.
Right.
Like, guys, like when you were young, you remember how stressed out I was? Remember how laying on the couch, sleeping on the weekend because I was exhausted because, on a Sunday, because, I was working 10, 12, 15-hour days. I mean, I was working hard. And so it's not easy. It's hard work. I would say though, if you link up with you're a prime example, Deba. If you link up with a mentor that knows what they're doing, but you do your part. So you go out and work it, you bring prospects, you bring deals, and you bring value to that mentor. You brought me value. It might not have been valuable, the mobile home, but the next deal that we did over on Carroll, well, I'm still getting paid like $1,600 a month on that deal.
Yeah.
So you brought me value, but I brought you value in that. Look where you are.
Right. And it's so funny, that deal that Daniel was talking about, Carol, it was in Garland, because y'all know I love Garland. And we were in the deal and it was a subject to, we did a wrap. And I learned so much on that deal. But when I tell you shit hit the fan, stuff hit the fan. And I was like, can you just buy me out? Because I'm terrified.
You don't even know the half of it. They called the loan due on that. The sellers took some of the escrow money they weren't supposed to.
My gosh.
It was a fiasco. But if you know what you're doing, even though those problems come up, if you know what you're doing, you're connected with the right people, you have the right resources, the right relationships, then those things come up, but it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of your career, and so I was able to, turn that circumstance with the bank and with the sellers into a win. And family's still there. They're enjoying their home. I'm making money. And so those relationships and resources are incredibly important. And even for someone that's, at my stage of their career.
Yeah. And you really talked a lot about the relationship piece of, even though even now that, I do a couple of different deals on my own, I will still reach out to Daniel in a heartbeat and be like, okay, I'm trying to figure this out. What do you think? Or if I'm like, hey, do you know a good contractor that can do this, that, and the other? And that's the big thing of the relationship piece. If you are thinking as a realtor and investor, if you are just thinking about yourself and thinking about how can I eat and how can I get this money, you will not be successful, because the people that are really doing this, that circle is small and everyone kind of knows each other. They may have never met, but they know enough of each other. And that word gets around of like, yeah, you don't want to mess with them. Their integrity is not there. They're not honest. And so the relationship piece is, I mean, it's one of the biggest parts of this game. It really, really is.
I think what you're describing is the difference between abundance and scarce. You
Yeah.
know, there's very, very few people in our industry that are abundant. There's a whole bunch of them that are scarce.
Mhm.
And so, look for the people that are abundant. There's, I refer a contractor out, I refer, whatever it might be. There's enough of that to go around, you
Yeah.
know? And so if you're thinking in an abundant mindset, as opposed to, a scarce mindset is, well, I don't want to refer that, then, I lose that contractor, or I don't want to, give that person this advice, because then I can't do deals because they're going to go do deals. I mean, that's just silly. Like you
Yeah.
said, as long as there's people down at the courthouse courthouse steps, yes, that are getting foreclosed on, there's not enough of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
enough.
And and one thing, I mean, because most people may not even know anything about owner financing or anything of that nature. And I think once you started mentoring me, I started understanding that whole owner finance world even more. And just a personal story of when I started telling my mom and dad, hey, I'm getting into real estate investing. I have a mentor and he's showing me how to do subject to and owner finance. That was the first time they shared with me that the house that we grew up in, they purchased it through owner finance.
Are you
And they're
serious?
so serious. And they were telling me,
No.
yeah, it was a guy that he was able to get us in the house. And that guy was like literally their godsend. That I want to say my younger brother, he is named after that guy because of how much he helped my parents. And
That
to
is
now be
awesome.
fast forward now that, hey, I actually help people do that. It's one of those like you just never know like how God makes this maze of a world and how it still is giving back so much in the future.
Man, I mean, the world just came full circle.
Yeah.
That man helped your family, and then in turn, you're turning around, not even knowing it. That's just
Not
how
even
God
knowing.
works. But that's how God works. It's like you didn't even know it, and now you're helping other families in the same manner that man helped your family. What an incredible and powerful story that is. I did
Crazy.
not know that. I did
Yeah.
not know. That's the first time hearing of that story, and that's a good one.
Yeah, that is so, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like y'all did that, and then it made sense because at that time they weren't able to qualify for a regular house, but they really did want to get into a house, and
For
that
sure.
was the only way they knew how to do it. And the house is now paid off, and we still own it, and look at it now, crazy.
And just for me to be a part of that, it just gives me the goosebumps. I mean, that
Yeah,
is just so awesome.
crazy, crazy.
Owner
Well,
finance is the jam.
yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh, Daniel, thank you so, so, so much. My heart is so full. I feel so
Thank
honored
you.
to have you on my podcast. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't think I've ever really like just shared my true genuine thank you for you being so open, being willing to share your world with me, that allowed me to step into a little bit of your world. I want to be like you one day. I want to just travel the world too. But thank you so, so much. Anything else you want to share with all of our viewers?
No, I mean, just again, I'm honored and feel privileged to be on your podcast. I'm incredibly proud of you and what you've accomplished. Thank you so much for touching so many people's lives. Thank you for being abundant. Thank you for being giving to others and their families. And God in turn has deeply blessed your family. And so yeah, it's just an honor to be able to serve and to be here today to share just a little bit about real estate
Wow.
and the business that we're in. And hopefully we've sparked an idea in someone, and through our conversation someone's life might be changed. That would be my deepest desire.
Absolutely. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. And I really mean it. Like, if you have a deal, please reach out to Daniel because he will open everything up and share everything he can to get you to understand the subject to owner finance world.
100%. Thanks again, Deba.
Thank you guys. Y'all take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Hey.